Hey everyone! Today I'm going to show you the work I've done on our mobile game since the last devlog. The last episode was 2 weeks ago, and during this time I've been working very hard on the inventory system and on the user interface to support this system. Unfortunately, making an inventory is pretty boring to watch, and even though it took me around 20 to 30 hours of work to get it to where it's at, I feel like I don't have a lot to show for it. Despite this, I'm still going to show you the overall progress. Let's get into it! If you haven't seen the previous episodes in the series, I recommend you go check them out before watching this one. The link will be in the description as always. So last time, we left off with this very basic UI to show the player's gold, premium currency and durability amounts, as well as a button to access non-existing settings and a non-existing inventory. We're going to change that. But before working on an inventory to contain items, maybe it would be good to actually have some items to put in it. I created a basic scriptable object, which is going to allow us to create items directly in the Unity editor. I added the basic item properties such as a name, icon, a type, and weight. I also added a price field, but I'm not going to touch it for now since prices are going to be constantly updated as the market evolves. Next, I needed to decide what the different types of items could be. I briefly touched on that in the first episode. Every market and item will have a type, and this type will influence whether we find these items in a mountain biome or a forest, for example. After a bit of thinking, I ended up with these categories: food and crops, rocks and metal, wood products, and manufactured products. I also made a separate category for desert-only items, which would be very profitable items, but they would be locked behind a dangerous zone. All of this is subject to change, of course, but this base idea is enough to start making a few items. For testing purposes, I made some very basic items like an apple and a sword. I then got started on the markets. I made a market UI window. It opens when you press the city you're currently at. I added the displaying of items to that menu. I went through a couple of iterations until I found a layout I liked. I ended up not really loving the buy button on the right side, so instead, I remade everything so that the whole item rectangle is a button you can press to buy. Every market will have its selection of items it sells, and they will all be displayed as these buttons. At this stage, I realized that I had no idea of how I was gonna handle the player selling his items. This market window allows him to buy, but I was gonna have to figure out how to include selling. I ended up going back to the market window and making it super wide. That way, the left column will be the item the player can buy from the market, and the right column will be the inventory items that they can sell. For now, the inventory list will stay as is, as I want to focus on the market first. Next, I made a trade window for buying an item. This is the design I came up with. The first time I ran the game to see how it looked, well, it looked disappointing. The buy button was very offset and the text field to enter a quantity had white text on a white background, which is not very practical. I went to fix a couple things, and here is the second iteration. Much better, but there are still a couple problems. When I move the slider, the camera keeps moving in the background, and also when I press on the text field, no keyboard pops up on my phone to write in it. As they say, third time's the charm, and now everything looked and worked how it was supposed to. I can scroll the slider exactly like I want without panning the camera, and I can type in the text field to select a quantity to buy. As you can see, I have a maximum field. The maximum value that we can buy will be determined by how much gold the player has and how much weight he's currently carrying. We'll cap the slider to the maximum value he can buy without over-encumbering himself or going into debt. The items are now also displayed properly in the market window. Visually, everything is far from perfect, but the code behind it is solid, so when we're finally ready to put some better graphics in the UI, it will be really easy to do so. For now, this gives us a very good way to test and implement trading functions to the game. Now it's time to work on the actual inventory. So the idea I have for the inventory is that the player's item will be on the left and his stats on the right, like durability, weight, and all of that. Now I know I said this a lot, but the inventory took me a long time. let me give you a little preview of what my week looked like. This is the first version I came up with. I can go to the market of the city I'm currently at and purchase some items. Here I buy 37 iron ores and 67 swords. If I go back to the inventory, the items are now all there. Unfortunately, as you can see, this first version is not perfect. There are alignment issues which make the text very confusing. After some playing around, I managed to align everything properly. I also added some text that was missing in the markets. Our inventory now looks pretty good. But not good enough. So let's keep working on it. Yeah, that was way too intense for just writing some code. Maybe it's worth a like though. After a lot of work, my inventory was finally done. The right section of the market window now displays the items that are currently in the inventory, and as you can see, when I buy an item, they appear in the right column as a button. Clicking this item button will allow us to sell the item to the current market and make some money. With all that interface work done, it's time to code some trading functions. Items will not have a price for now, this will come later, as I'll have to code a complex dynamic pricing settings. However, I can still work on the item getting added and removed from the inventory, so that's what I did. The buying part I had already pretty much done while working on the UI, and for the selling part I copied the buying interface and adapted it to sell instead. After that, it was time for a bunch of code to connect all of these parts together. Yeah, no, don't worry, I'm not doing that twice in a row. Here we go, I'm done. I can now buy and sell items easily from the market window, and I can also open the inventory to see a full list of what items are currently in my possession. I think I'll end it here for today. Even though this doesn't seem like a lot of progress, it actually is a very good amount. As you saw, I wrote a lot of code behind the scenes, and that's really helped the game progress, even if you can't see it. This is kind of what gameDev is about. It looks super fun, and it is, but at most times, it's actually kind of boring. A ton of work goes into coding very basic features. In our next episode, which is hopefully going to be next Sunday, I want to implement the pricing system. This is probably going to take more than one episode, depending on how much work is actually needed. But I do have a pretty good idea of how I want to make this system, so it shouldn't be that bad to actually make. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future episodes, and ring that bell. Don't forget to stay hydrated, and I'll see you next week. Bye!